That's a bingo. Is that the way you say it? That's a bingo.
You just say bingo.
Bingo! How fun!
All right, That's a Bingo is back. It is Wednesday, October 7th. My name is Jake Luke, and I'm joined by a very disruptive Matt Pine in his Google quarter zip that he is rocking here.
It's actually Tuesday, but yeah, I guess you're listening on a Wednesday. Glad to be here for another week of That's a Bingo.
By the way, not to cut you off, but that's just me being a total pro, introducing it as Wednesday when we are in fact recording on a Tuesday. I thought you were more disruptive than that. Who knows?
I see. That's why Spreaker pays you the big bucks, right?
Oh yeah, it's however many cents we're making off of this thing. It's really, really a good testament to that.
We might be up to $1 by now.
Woo!
Just want to point that out.
Golly, we're like the gif of Scrooge McDuck diving into the coins at this point.
Yes, Monopoly money though.
Oh yeah, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. This is my favorite time of the year. We're getting into TV season. Good time to watch some movies. Fargo season 4 has come out, which I have not seen yet, but I'm sure we'll talk about that next week. And just get into the swing of things here.
Yep, my early returns on that so far are very, very good. Ton of fun. So excited for you to jump into it. So that's been good. Not a whole lot going on. I mean, we got some news that we want to discuss before we jump into our segments here. If you want to do that, none of them too fun at this point, except for maybe the Dune release date. But what do you got for us?
Yeah, not the rosiest week of news. We have some more theaters shutting down as the COVID cases aren't going away anytime soon, unfortunately. So we have Regal Cinema announced that they're going to shut down. It's just an ongoing thing. This is going to be discussion not only for post-pandemic, but it's going to be afterwards, whether movie theaters are a viable product moving forward. And that was a discussion that was going to be had whether there was a pandemic or not. So
yeah, it already was, unfortunately, and this is just sort of putting the nail into the coffin for them to some extent. I don't know. I mean, I think they'll always be around to some degree, and you're seeing drive-in movies and things like that, or drive-in theaters becoming, maybe even a little more popular these days thanks to all of this. But it's sad, man. We've talked on here about how much we love the movie-going experience, going to the theater and getting your snacks and everything. And it's just sort of a thing that getting into my mid-20s here, I was really starting to enjoy even more than I did when I was younger. So it's kind of unfortunate to see it sort of potentially falling by the wayside here. Yeah,
I mean, I would not be opposed to the resurgence of the drive-in movie. I was looking the other day, like the closest one. I think there's one down in like Essex area, but
there's one that like everyone. I don't know, like you see people on like doing dates and stuff down at those things. So I think there's definitely one within the state, but I'm not totally sure.
Okay, interesting. I mean, it remains to be seen. It could affect. I couldn't imagine this would be the case, but I did, listen to some other podcasts where they're saying it could be make a ripple effect into how we make movies. If it's not the big extravagant Avatar or the Blade Runner 2049 type film, it could be just more of the low key, low budget, but we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, less Avatar is just a worse world in my opinion. So.
Absolutely. I think we'll talk about that in our upcoming segment here. But and so some other pieces.
Are we going to talk about that?
I'm not going to talk about it, but
I'm not. So
I mean, we do have an honorable mention list that may pop up in. We'll see.
Okay, fair enough.
No promises.
I mean, spoiler alert, I guess if you haven't figured it out, it's not on my honorable mentions either. But you got the sequel coming out soon, and the third one is potentially going to be coming out as well. So I don't know what James's strategy there is for distribution, but it's not going to be the same as the first one. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, we're going to release it, 11 years before the next one, and then the third one will be the year after. So fun stuff.
hey, take another decade off so the movie theater industry is fully recovered and you can make your investment back.
Maybe he's playing 4D chess. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we do have Dune being a little bit delayed here. A whole lot delayed, actually, to 2021. I think I saw October of 2021. Originally was supposed to come out in December of this year. I'm not a big Dune guy. I never have been, never got into it. I know they have a really big fan base. At a previous job, I had a couple people who were really into the novels, but not a big Dune guy myself.
Yeah, neither am I. I know there's a big subculture around it with the novels and everything, and people are already really into this movie after only one trailer, and that's cool. Like, I'll never begrudge anyone for that, but it's not my thing so far. Not a big Timothée guy either. So
Timothée Chalamet.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
a little too boyish. Let's grow up a little bit here, Timothée.
Very TikTok-y.
Yeah, he's Gen Z e-boy. Come on. I'm a Brad Pitt guy.
All the terms I don't understand.
Yeah.
He's probably a simp.
Yeah, he probably is a simp. He has big simp vibes.
This is officially an anti-Timothée Chalamet podcast.
But if he does want to come on as a guest at some point,
yeah, absolutely. I would not say no to that.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to be careful with what we throw out there over the next couple of years here as we get this thing rolling.
In fact, we should definitely leverage him into getting Saoirse Ronan on the podcast.
Okay. I don't know who that is.
She played Lady Bird. She was in Mary Queen of Scots. Just a big fan of hers.
If your name is Saoirse Ronan, then you're definitely friends with somebody named Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, but she's so much better than him.
Okay.
He's just like he's the Rob Schneider to her Adam Sandler.
See you, Rob Schneider. You must come see this. So I guess related to that, we got Batman now being delayed as well. The Batman, I should say. It's like the Ohio State University.
Yeah, gotta have the in there. It's very important. I didn't see the actual date for this. Maybe you can enlighten us, Jake.
I did write it down. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, so it's going to be March 4th, 2022 for The Batman starring Robert Pattinson. That's a long way to go.
I want to knock Robert Pattinson so bad because he's like
I love the guy,
but he's the man. Like
he's such a good actor.
He's so good. Like he takes his craft so seriously.
I also watching when guys maybe people think they're going to get typecast as one thing. Like I hated Zac Efron understandably because I grew up right when High School Musical was going to be a thing around like the ages of girls my age. So of course I hated the guy that they were all in love with, but very much made it turn into a likable sort of self-effacing dude. And I don't know if that's the exact path that Pattinson has taken, but he's sort of taken the workman-like, craftsman actor, and he's done a tremendous job of it. I've loved pretty much every movie I've seen of his pretty much since Twilight. So good for him.
Yeah, it is refreshing when you see kind of those guys pivot a little bit. I did see Zac Efron on the Pardon My Take interview. That was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get into more Robert Pattinson movies. Obviously, I haven't seen Tenet yet or The Lighthouse, but I did just watch Good Time and really enjoyed him in that one. So,
yeah, I was going to do another Safdie bit there where I talk over you. But
I'll do that again.
We'll save that for the in-person.
That's an in-person only.
Yeah, that was a good bit though. I'm going to die on that hill.
It was a good bit. I'll give you that. I'll give you that much.
But yeah, I mean, is that all we got for news or anything else?
The one thing I got to mention it because we failed to mention it last week. I'm trying to get it in every podcast. Tenet officially will be released to DVD.
Speaking of that.
And Blu-ray in December. I think December 15th. I saw no streaming still. I'm very upset.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. Like, what are we doing here? Like, is that
Nolan is just so opposed to anything like modern that he's just like, screw these guys. I'm putting it out on VHS only.
I think we still have our VHS player lying around.
That would be sick because I would definitely come over.
Hell yeah. We could do a little VHS night.
Little bro movie night.
Yeah, that'll be great.
All right.
It's going to be like Leo and Brad ordering a pizza. Got a 6-pack in the back.
I did thoroughly enjoy our Swingers movie night, so we'll have to do it.
Thought we might. Yeah, it's been too long since that. We got to get another one.
It's been a minute.
Maybe a little more sober this time around, but
maybe less sober. I don't know.
Yeah, listen, who knows? Who knows the times that we're living in, so
who knows what will happen. All right. Anything else regarding news this week?
No, I only had those two things written down, so I guess we can keep it moving here.
All right. So we've been doing over the last few podcasts our favorite movies. I guess the best movies, we should say.
It's definitely a combination of both, at least for me.
It's definitely a combination for sure. Definitely a little bit of bias in there. So we've been doing, we did best movies of the past 5 years. We did 2010 to 2014. Now we're doing 2005 to 2009. Definitely noticed, a few ones definitely stood out. I definitely forgot a lot. But what are your?
I think I've officially given this a name, by the way, and it's
Okay.
a little bit nebulous because of the fact that you came at me with a 10-year period, which is a little bit of an audible. So I'm hoping to go back to the 5-year period because, in my opinion, 5 and 5 is a great name for this segment.
Oh, 5 and 5. I like it.
Oh yeah.
See, I named some of the categories for our movie review, so I'll take this one.
For sure. Also, Vasilio, shout out from WBAL in the comments. Curious how your fantasy football team is doing.
Oh, well, you really want to devolve the podcast and talk about this?
I'm not saying it. I'm just a journalist here reporting what the fans want to hear.
20-second sidebar. My quarterback is Nick. What is his name? Nick Mullins from the 49ers.
Nick Mullins, I got Christian McCaffrey. I got.
Quick sidebar. I picked up Tanyan from the Packers. He killed it last night. I'm in Vasilios' league, and he was trying to rag on me, but guess what? I got the next Gronk of the future. So that's a quick sidebar.
Tanyan, love to see it.
So you were number 5 on the list here.
Number 5. Let me pull this up. So this is a really interesting time period. 2005 from 2009, if we weren't clear.
Yeah.
A lot of really good movies, a lot of really shitty movies from what I saw in my the way I do the research. I told you earlier, and to pull back the curtain is I just Google all the movies from that year that were relevant.
Right.
So my number 5, I'm sure you're not going to be too happy with me on this, but it's The Departed by Marty Scorsese. The Boston, gangster crime flick, kind of Whitey Bulger, kind of not. I think I'm a little bit more lukewarm on this movie than you are. I still really like it. But yeah, it's number 5 for me. I don't know where you had it.
Coincidentally, is also number 5 for me.
Look at that.
So I
Do you
was.
want to be a podcaster, or do you want to appear to be a podcaster?
Are you a co-op?
No, I don't fucking co-op.
I'm not a co-op. Yeah, I mean,
Tell you about John Lennon. What was I saying about John Lennon there?
If you want to hear Jake's absolute vitriol and hatred for this film, just go back a couple episodes. He outlines it all.
Yeah, forgetting the fact that I, of course, gave it like an 8.6, which is like a solid B. It's a really good movie, but some people seem to think it's like on the level of Goodfellas. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, I'll pump the brakes a little bit. I'm in the 9, so I'd say like a 9.3.
Okay.
Not Scorsese's best, not his second best, but it's a classic, man. This is.
Oh, it is. And I think it'll be fondly remembered. But I think the further we get away from it, the easier it is to sort of take the goggles off a little bit. And there are some flaws with it, and that's okay. It's okay. It's a good movie.
Spencer Schultz might or might not have it number 1 on this list, but
he honestly might. He was caping for that thing harder than I've seen him cape for any movie. So.
Right.
Shout out to him, by the way, dealing with COVID, my co-host on the other podcast. So yeah, he sounds like he's stable and doing all right, but just
definitely wish him well.
Came down with it at the same time as our president, so hopefully coincidental there.
Do we have the tracker here, like Trump versus Schultz like thing going on?
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
Going to be provided by 538. I'll tell you later. Nate Silver is going to be.
We need an emergency podcast to break it down.
Yeah, exactly.
You were number 4.
My number 4. So you were The Departed on 5 as well?
I was number 5 as well, yes.
My number 4 is She Wants to Fuck Me. She Wants My Dick in and around her mouth. It's Superbad is number 4 for me.
If you couldn't tell by the introduction there.
Superbad. Probably one of my all-time favorite movies, just in general. One of the great comedies of all time. And that line delivery by Jonah Hill as Seth is one of my favorite line deliveries ever. Superbad number 4.
Yeah, so if I didn't have the Departed at number 5, Superbad would have been number 5. Superbad did not make my list. It is the first one on the honorable mentions. But yeah, it's an all-time classic. It's a movie that I got to go back and rewatch because I probably saw it like 3 to 4 times in the first 2 to 3 years that it came out. Don't think I've seen it since, which is...
I think it's even better watching it like today.
Yeah.
Because I remember liking it when I was younger, rewatching it the last couple of years. It just has many multitudes to it.
Yeah, I was in like junior high school when it came out, so like I don't know. I just like obviously love the stupid humor, but I don't think I appreciate it as much as I would now.
It's solid movie making, yeah. I mean, it's and yeah, I mean, like it's. I think when you have a producer like Apatow involved, you're going to get that high end sort of production, which is really good, and the jokes are just. Especially for like the first 2/3 of the movie, just fucking hitting over and over and over again. Just absolutely, just a joke machine. And yeah, it's really, really good. Some flaws with it, but one of my favorite comedies ever.
I'm all here for everything Michael Cera, so definitely count me in for this one.
For sure.
My number 4, which I don't think you've seen this one, is my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie, my favorite Daniel Day-Lewis movie, There Will Be Blood.
I've been meaning to watch it. 2007, looking back, one of the absolute most diesel years for movies inside of the year 2000. So I've been meaning to check that out. I have not yet.
Yeah, from what I was looking at, I did the same strategy. I would go like year by year. I think I saw 2005 and 2009 were the weakest 2 years, I want to say. 2007 was good. 2008 was solid. But yeah, this is a classic all time. Daniel Day-Lewis plays an oil baron, like in the 1800s.
Mr. Plainview.
Yep, Daniel Plainview.
Little Red Redemption reference. The area that has the oil drilling machines is called Plainview.
Well, look at you with the video game reference.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep bringing them. This is gonna be a video game podcast sooner or later.
It's a slow pivot.
You're just gonna have to deal with it.
Okay, fine. I'll have to talk some Need for Speed, and we'll see. We'll go from there, I guess.
Okay.
Some MVP baseball 2004. We'll see what happens.
Dude, hell yeah.
Right? Best video game ever. I don't want to give away too much of this movie. You got to see it. It's like Paul Thomas Anderson, is a bona fide stud. And this is where he really shows his chops.
And just looking at the promotional material for it, because it's on Netflix, it pops up every now and then. It's just Daniel Day-Lewis just being Daniel Day-Lewis. He just rolled off the set of Gangs of New York, and they were like, "Hey, Daniel, like make a quick change to your hat or whatever, and then just put this vest on and just remain in character." Yeah,
and I've gone on a YouTube rabbit hole to see actors that nail their movie accents. And apparently his very specific, his California 1800s accent, he nails it. Can't tell the difference, but hey, what do I know?
That's what he does, man.
Untrained ear over here. All right, you're number 3.
Oh no! Where are they? Where are they? It's The Dark Knight. Number 3.
Okay.
Not only one of the greatest superhero movies of all time, I think one of the great movies of all time, particularly this century. Chris Nolan doing his thing, him at his absolute best with this trilogy, which is high praise because Batman Begins is amazing. Dark Knight Rises is pretty solid. This one takes the cake for me. Very well acted, particularly by Heath Ledger, and underrated just overall movie making. But of course, you're going to get that with a guy like Chris Nolan at the helm. I think he was the perfect guy for this trilogy, and he nailed it, especially with this one.
Yeah, I think this is where my bias comes in a little bit. This is higher on my list, so I'm going to refrain from talking about it.
Okay.
Till we get to it. My number 3 is the inspiration for this podcast, Inglourious Basterds. I think it just shows how strong this list is, that this is number 3 on my list. I would have to imagine our number 2 or maybe your number 1 is the same, but Inglourious Basterds, we've talked well enough about this one. This is Tarantino's best movie, I think. The last line of the movie is, "This might just be my masterpiece." I think it is.
A little cocky, but yeah, probably.
Yeah, a little showboaty, but I think he's entitled.
That's also just if he wasn't being showboaty, then we might have to check him for a little Weekend at Bernie situation. But continue. Which we're doing that, by the way, at some point.
Yeah, at some point. yeah, I think this was well received by everyone who watched it. Even if you don't like Tarantino movies, if you don't like the style, you're probably gonna like this movie.
For sure.
So that's all I got to say about that.
Is it me on number 2 now?
Number 2.
How much you ever lost on a coin toss?
There you go. That's the
No
one.
Country for Old Men, number 2. I think you know what my number 1 is going to be, but this one is it might even be the best movie of all of them. Bias removed. Great performance by Javier Bardem. Great direction by the Coens. We don't have to go too deep into it because we've talked on it plenty of times, and we'll do the movie at some point, of course. But
Definitely.
yeah,
As soon as it comes on streaming.
Yeah, not a whole lot to say other than this is just an all-time amazing movie, if a little bit not the easiest watch in the world, which I think is probably what made the difficult decision between 1 and 2. This loses out and is number 2 for me.
This is also my number 2. I think this is a better movie than my number 1, but I'm fair to admit that it's definitely bias comes into play. Funny little tidbit about this movie. For some reason, when I was like a little younger, my parents would go to see like Coen Brothers movies, and they hated every one of them.
That's the most boomer thing of all time.
So I remember them going to see Oh Brother, Where Art Thou and hated it. I remember them going to see No Country for Old Men and they hated it. And I think that kind of skewed me to not watching them until like a little later in life, which is kind of funny.
That Josh Brolin used to be such a cute boy. The most like parent thing of all time.
Yeah.
Movies they hate.
Yeah. Like Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive. God, man. So just a fun fact, and probably took him down a step in my book, and unfair, I would say, until I got into it into my late teens or so.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I was probably a little late on the party to them as well. I mean, I didn't get into like really caring about movies as much as I do until probably like 5 years ago or so.
Yeah, that's fair. Drum roll for number 1, which we both already said, but go ahead.
Yep, it is Inglourious Bastards, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. I think it might be, I don't know if it's my favorite movie of his, but it probably is his best movie in my opinion.
What's your favorite?
I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Good choice.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it might be a little recency bias, but I think the more I've watched that movie, and I've seen it a handful of times now, I like it every single time, but this is not about
throwing
that.
Everything at the wall.
Yeah, this is not about that. This is about Inglourious Bastards and just Quentin's most solidly made film. Just in terms of the construction of it, and the production is incredible. It's a period piece, which I love when he does those. If you couldn't tell by me picking Once Upon a Time as my favorite, and he just absolutely nails it in every way. And there's just multitudes to it. Where I think when I watched it the first time, I don't know if I fully understood it. I've rewatched it however many times since, and I find something new that I like about it every single time. Music is great, acting is great all around. Cartoonish, kind of fun vibe to it, and like I mentioned with No Country, I think No Country maybe it's a better movie, but this movie is eminently more watchable than No Country. So
No Country is a tough watch. It's I've only seen it twice, I believe, but it's something I can go back to. I don't have a problem with that type of a genre, that theme. I know a lot of people do. It is not a fun watch, but so it's not a fun watch, but it's an enjoyable watch, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's a thrill ride for sure.
I appreciate it more than anything.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a thrilling movie. It gets a little stressful at times. This is kind of, to me, just pretty stress free. It's just sort of it's got a comic book quality to it where you just know that the good guys are going to win. There's it's very pulpy and a lot of fun, even in its most stressful moments. So yeah, Inglourious Bastards number 1 for me.
Good pick out of you. My number 1 is The Dark Knight.
No. His face is on fire.
I was trying to figure out what you were doing there, but got it. Did you watch those college humor videos I sent you?
No, not yet. I got. Or yeah,
to.
I did watch. I think at least if you only sent me one, I did. I
think I sent you one.
Part of one, yeah.
Okay, hilarious. Pete Holmes should be the next Batman, not Robert Pattinson.
The Pete
Dark, yeah, definitely. Dark Knight. I think I was it's 2008, so I was 14 when this came out, and I think this was the first movie that I ever saw that made me think, oh, they can make a movie this way. Like,
yep,
it doesn't have to be the standard procedure every time. The opening 7 to 8 minutes, maybe the best opening to any movie ever. And Chris Nolan just doing his own thing. This is his breakout. Hans Zimmer score, I believe. Just everything about this movie I love. It's in my top 3 movies of all time.
Yeah, it's that's a great way of putting it. It's like that first time you watch a movie and you're like, wait a minute, what? Like you're allowed to do this. That's a really distinct and cool feeling. I don't know if I had it with this because I had seen Batman Begins in theater. I was pretty into it.
Didn't see that.
I kind of got the whole vibe that they were going for. And yeah, I mean, not to say that this didn't revolutionize other things, but I sort of was invested and I had the vibe of it. I think the movie I probably had that reaction the most with was Reservoir Dogs, which I saw when I was 18 or 19. And like I mentioned, like 5 years ago, that's pretty much when the light kind of clicked on. But I could definitely see this being a movie that does that for a lot of people. It did that for me in certain ways, particularly with the way that the Joker is used as an antagonist. They hint at it at the end of Batman Begins, which is really cool with like the Joker card that he gives to Gary Oldman's character. And then kind of comes in this really sort of interesting, funny, creepy, weird reveal. Not only with the bank scene, but when he goes in and he's fighting with the mobsters, or he's doing the how about a magic trick thing with the mobsters. It's kind of like very unique and cool, and found a way to bring a balance of menace and humor and all this different shit to the performance. So great job by Mr. Heath Ledger, the late great Heath Ledger.
Yeah, it's damn shame that he passed away. I think he would have had one of the most fantastic careers ever for an actor. Maybe he could have been already in this movie. He proved himself, but I think he could have been to the Joaquin Phoenix level, maybe even above that.
So you've seen Joker, right?
I have. Yep.
I never saw it. Do you prefer Joaquin or Heath?
To me, it's apples and oranges. I do prefer Heath because I just don't think anybody can do that better.
Right.
Joaquin is a second, but they're different types of characters.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
So, and I do enjoy going to YouTube and looking like those clickbaity BuzzFeed type things, the 50 things you missed in The Dark Knight. I do
Watch
enjoy those.
Mojo and all that stuff.
Yeah, Watch Mojo.
You can fall down those rabbit holes pretty quick.
Pretty quick. It's bad. You start a playlist, you're like, okay, I just click through these.
Yeah, okay. This is just on 4 hours later.
Something like that. Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, let me pull my thing up here. I think I had a good amount. So I guess we can go year by year.
Okay.
2005, I had 40-Year-Old Virgin, Wedding Crashers. So this is still kind of the comedy boom. Also from 2005, I had Coach Carter, Lord of War, and Jarhead.
Okay.
All pretty solid movies.
Okay. I don't have the years down here, but I'm trying to remember if I have any 2005. That's 2007, 6. Nope, I think I'm good for 2005.
Yeah, it was. All those movies have problems in their own right. I've talked before about how I definitely overrate Jarhead. Lord of War is hilarious. Nicolas Cage just being like a gangster somehow. Is
that like all about like the bullets like cost this much and like this is what war cost? I haven't seen it, but
he's a weapons dealer,
right?
Yeah, a map on the
Gotcha.
Declaration of Independence that he has to steal, and he's going to use weapons to steal it.
Getting in the cage with Cage.
Combined movies there. That's 2005, 2006. Blood Diamond and Commando Zero.
Blood Diamond.
Had that. I had Talladega Nights, another comedy boom special. Accepted, another comedy boom special. A little bit lesser thought of, I think, but Accepted still really funny. Children of Men from 2006, also really good. I don't know if people really consider that a classic, but a lot of really cool elements to that movie. 07. So I haven't seen some of these movies that are really good, like 3:10 to Yuma, There Will Be Blood. I know these are great movies, but I just haven't seen them. So I only had No Country, Superbad, and then American Gangster. Also that year, I wanted to give a shout out to.
Zodiac, also a great one from that year. Right. David Fincher.
Great year.
Last 40 minutes of that movie is insane.
And also, we were talking about American Gangster there. All right.
Okay.
All right. Okay. 2008, Gran Torino. Get off. Valkyrie. Solid, interesting movie, Valkyrie. Not great, but pretty cool.
Is that the Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Huge ass.
Yeah. The plot to kill Hitler, actually based on a true story. They almost did. Taken was 2008. Solid thriller movie, kind of a template movie. The Hurt Locker.
Very specific set of skills.
I don't know who you are. but I will find you.
I will find you.
And I will kill you. It's just so matter of fact. Love Neeson. The Hurt Locker, also 2008. That could have made my list, honestly.
I believe it won Best Oscar that year.
Yeah, I think Catherine Bigelow. I haven't seen it probably since around it came out. It was always playing on like HBO and stuff, so I saw it then. Really liked it. Really want to go back to it. Forgetting Sarah Marshall also that year.
Good one.
2009, Inglourious Bastards. Also wanted to shout out The Hangover. Pretty much the end of the comedy boom there. Probably one of the last big hits. And then Public Enemies.
Okay, that's a Johnny Depp, right?
Yeah, Johnny Depp, Christian Bale.
Seen that.
Really, really cool movie. And I fucking love like prohibition, like gangster type stuff. So
I've noticed.
Yeah, it's right up my alley.
I do have a few that you did not mention. Juno. I really love Juno.
That's a cute movie.
I think it's criminally underrated, in my opinion. The Wrestler. I don't know if you've seen The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke. No, I have not seen that.
Gives as the film community likes to say, an honest performance. WALL-E. Loved WALL-E.
WALL-E's cool. Yeah, I only saw that once, way back in the day.
I've seen it once, but it was probably the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, it's good.
Doubt with Meryl Streep, Philip Seymour Hoffman, which was a play turned into a screenplay, and it kind of gets shit on a little bit, but I love the acting performances in that one, so definitely on my list. Frost Nixon, which I know you enjoy a lot.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't see that anywhere, but I do like that movie a lot.
Yep. And Up.
I did not bring notes to this meeting. Now it's your life, sir.
That was an interesting dynamic.
Peace with honor.
Up.
Whoever portrayed him, I don't know how that guy did that kind of a job, but it's almost.
I looked it up after I watched it, and I don't remember seeing him in anything else at all.
No, he was pretty unknown. I think he maybe was up for the Oscar, but he was good.
Frank Langella.
Peace with honor. I guess it might be a little bit hard to just be like, okay, I'm just going to be Nixon, like literally straight to a T. I'm Richard Nixon, and then I'm just going to do anything else in my career. I just feel like that's going to be a hard transition.
Speaking of political movies, have you seen Vice?
No, I've heard not great things.
I love that movie.
Okay, I'll check it out. Is that more comedy or drama? Because
it's definitely more comedy.
Okay, the idea of Bale like all fattened up, it's an interesting one. I'll check that.
They end the movie like halfway through, and they're like, "Just kidding, that's not the end of the movie." You'll see.
I love when they do that.
Right. And then I am a apologist for Avatar. So I'm going to include it. Why not? It was the highest grossing movie of all time before Avengers made its way in, and it's not a movie that I've seen recently, but I don't hate it. I like the aesthetic.
I video game reference here, but
It's a big shocker.
Big Halo fan growing up. Mass Effect, another one that I think was maybe a little bit of an influence on this because I think Cameron is a gamer. Big Jim Cameron
game, bro.
Do you even wear a headset? But yeah, big Jim Cameron guy. Interesting director. Great movies in the 80s and 90s, and not a whole lot of great stuff in my opinion since. I did see Avatar like once and I liked it a lot.
It got too much hype. That's the problem.
Yeah, and that's kind of like, what are you supposed to do? But that's also part of the Cameron machine. That's what he does. Like, have you seen Entourage all the way through?
No.
So they kind of lampoon this with, I think it's season 2. Vince is like up to play Aquaman. It's a really big like storyline of the series, and he eventually, spoiler, winds up taking it. He's like works with Cameron, and Cameron actually appears as himself in it. And he's really good. Like, he's funny, and he's like self-deprecating with the performance. You can tell because he like does it up, and he's kind of like a rich man's who's that one guy? The dude who does the Transformers and like all the dumb action movies, Michael Bay.
Yeah.
Kind of like a rich man's Michael Bay. Like, he does that whole thing up where he's just like makes big budget movies and swings for the fences every time and pretty much doesn't hit it out of the park every time, even if he does make a solid movie. That's kind of where I feel like Jim is at, and that's fine. Like, he's done it. He did T2, some of my all-time favorite, in
Titanic.
Yeah, Titanic. So yeah, he's fine. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I've kind of considered Michael Bay to be kind of like a lowbrow Tony Scott.
Sure,
like they're very similar in a lot of ways. But I do like this movie, and looking forward to the sequels. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. We'll rewatch this first one when the sequels come out in 10 years.
All right. No worries there. Are you ready to move on to our movie review this week?
Yes, I am.
All righty. So we did Lost in Translation this week. Did a little bit of a curveball here. Not a typical movie that we would do on That's a Bingo. This is described as a romantic dramedy. I think it fits the bill pretty well. If you want to watch it, you can pause this podcast, go on Peacock, watch it, and come back. Thoughts on the movie initially, Jake?
I really liked it. I didn't know what I was expecting going into it, but really, really cool kind of mood piece, I think is a term I saw thrown around on the internet about it. Very interesting, kind of realistic look, I think, at what it's like to be kind of depressed or like going through a rut in your life or in a relationship is sort of the main thought that I had. I think what's especially impressive and like cool about it is that it manages to do that and like still kind of be realistic without compromising the aesthetic or the humor of it. So the aesthetic is kind of the jet lag dream state and this like kind of, bright neon lights, Tokyo. The humor is really funny coming in through the, not only I think the translations between, or the lack of ability to translate between Bill Murray and some of the characters that speak Japanese. It's pretty funny. And like Bill Murray, plenty of physical comedy. There's, humor between him and ScarJo. I think my main thought on it is that I don't love the way the characters act, and I'm not particularly sure I'd want to be friends with any of these people, but I think that's more a commentary on like where we're at with society than it is like on the characters' actual behavior, because I could see this type of thing pretty much happening in real life. And I think they prove better for having met one another, at the end of the movie, which is kind of in itself a happy ending. So that's good. I wrote down purgatory fiction. I don't know if that conjures anything for you, but I got big vibes from one of the seasons of The Sopranos, a later season where, spoiler alert for I think season 6 maybe, Tony gets shot and he's in a coma and he's basically like living out this dream life where he's like basically in between death and coming back, and it's a really cool kind of like a limbo state season where they really mess around. It kind of reminded me of that. So ultimately, characters aren't great people. They still manage to be likable, which is a testament to the actors and how great the casting is, which is really strong. And cool aesthetic, good humor, interesting, different type of movie. Got some Being John Malkovich vibes as well. And I think I gave that an 8.6, which I also wound up giving this an 8.6 out of 10.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of a coincidence, maybe not.
Yeah, I was right around your score. I gave it an 8.4, so I would agree with you there. I think the city of Tokyo is kind of like its own character in this movie. And I think it really lends itself well to the dreamlike state, with all the vibrant colors, the busyness, but it still feels empty at the same time. And I saw you chopping it up a little bit on Twitter with our buddy Ken McCusick about it. And what do you think? Is this a autobiographical movie for Bill Murray?
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it with trivia, obviously, but it certainly is. Like, you can just tell, even in some of his more funny roles, that Bill Murray has this sort of sardonic, kind of dry side to him that at the heart of it all, like maybe he used to be like a little more vibrant and whatever, but at his heart, he's just a normal guy who just wants to like hang out and play golf, and like maybe wasn't totally prepared for this life of just, hey, you're that guy everywhere he goes, and he has to deal with it, and he has fans coming up to him, hey, can you like do this quote from Caddyshack, and like you're this dude, like you're Bill, like be funny, Bill, like that's got to get annoying after a while, and like that's kind of where I think these days, even in some of the public appearances that he does, like if you're a golf fan, sometimes he'll appear on like telecasts and stuff and get interviewed, and you can tell he's just kind of over some of the questions and some of the shit, and like it kind of reminds me of the casting reminds me of, you remember that season of Curb where Larry has the idea to come up with the idea for a show about like a person who in their past life was like this really famous sitcom character, and now they can't get away from it. Like, obviously that's like a fictional idea from a TV show, but like that whole idea is kind of what I was reminded of with this character, like a dude who even in Tokyo, all the way across the world, he has these young American like frat bros recognizing him and being like, oh, hey, remember this Bill? Like, remember this Bob? Remember that?
Yeah.
He's kind of past it all, and like he kind of doesn't know where he's at in life, just sort of drifting. And he mentions like how he could be doing a play and instead he's doing a commercial, and like that's a side of Bill Murray that frankly I didn't even know existed. Like I didn't know that he was a guy who was really that serious about the pursuit of things, or the pursuit of the acting craft. Always just saw him as the comedy guy, but he really brings something I think vulnerable and just really, really interesting and layered to this performance. So probably maybe my favorite Bill Murray performance, honestly.
It might be. It's definitely up there for sure. I think he
It
totally
takes the
not.
It takes the most talent at the very least.
Well, I think it parallels well to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Because we're portraying Leo and Brad Pitt kind of in somewhat similar roles to their real life movie career.
Mhm.
And I think that's really important. If you want to have this type of performance, you got to get guys that actually have lived it and have gone through it. And I would definitely agree with you. I do. This isn't even a knock on the movie, but this movie is very frustrating to me, like
Mhm.
to watch and not get that payoff that you want to get through the entire second half of the movie. I think that's kind of part of why it's such a brilliant movie and such a brilliant screenplay by Sofia Coppola.
Yeah, I think it's one of the main themes of the movie is communication and, how we communicate our desires and communicate what we want from each other and what we want in life. And basically it's these people coming to terms with the fact that they've been lying to themselves for, in Bill's character's case, several years at the very least. And ScarJo's case, she's just kind of realizing it and coming to terms with that and how to move forward, basically. And yeah, I mean, it's like not a pretty question, but you mentioned that sort of parallel. It's kind of similar to the Rick Dalton character a little bit, where in Rick's case, his character just never took off and he's just frustrated and pissed off.
It's like you see life passing you by almost.
Yeah, exactly. And he kind of made it, kind of didn't. He's pissed off. And it's with this character, the Bob Harris character, it's like he did make it. And then the question is kind of like, oh, well, what now? And like he's kind of realizes that it's not all it's cracked up to be. He's doing these commercials and he's fighting with like the commercial director who's like speaking a different language than him.
Roger Moore.
Yeah, it's great comedy by Murray to just sort of hang in there and go punch for punch with that guy. And that's probably, again, to the autobiographical point, something that he probably had to do however many times throughout his life after he became this commercialized comedy icon,
right,
as opposed to this sort of, workman-like actor that maybe he wanted to be. So, yeah, I think it's sort of the Bill character realizing like, yeah, you know what, I'm in a shitty situation, but it's up to me to kind of do something about it. And the Scarlett character, Charlotte is her name, obviously, which is funny. Her sort of realizing what she has to do before it's too late, kind of like him. So yeah, it's interesting in that respect. I think the themes are really well woven into it.
Yeah, big props to Scarlett Johansson only being 17 years old in this movie. Would have never guessed that.
Kind of creepy, honestly.
It is, looking back, it is very creepy that 50-plus-year-old Bill Murray would be in this love interest spot. But I read that Sofia Coppola, had an interview with her at a coffee shop, and she, presented herself like much older. She was very well spoken, definitely wise beyond her years.
Yeah, I think she's probably pretty underrated in it because Murray's performance is pretty captivating in and of itself. And she's sort of the de facto second lead in it. They don't actually make contact in it as characters until like half an hour through the movie, which is an interesting choice. Yeah, I think it's sort of meant to frustrate you. It's meant to sort of put our frustrations with our relationships and with life into the forefront and how we deal with them. And sometimes it's frustrating and, sometimes it's not perfect and that's just the way it is. But at the end, like, it's going to be fine. You just got to put the work in to do what you got to do to improve yourself, which we're all trying to do every single day.
Huh, I'm inspired. This movie is definitely a slow burn, but for being a slow burn, I think it really paces itself very well, which is hard. It's not easy to accomplish. Sofia Coppola, this was her second movie ever. So definitely big props go to her. Looking at some like bigger concepts, do you see this movie as like an attack on either like fame or money? Because that's kind of the vibe I was getting a little bit.
Yeah, I think it kind of is. I think it's coming from a place of, like I said, autobiography for Murray, but I could also, and actually if you go into the trivia, this is partially autobiographical for Sofia Coppola too. So it's a very like, and what's interesting about it is like when you read into it like that, it's kind of like these actors and these directors are so up their own ass and they only care about their own problems and like their relationships. It's like, all right, well, you're like a millionaire. So like, what is, it's sort of where
what are you supposed to do?
Yeah, it's sort of where I lose, empathy for these characters a little bit. And it's sort of a hard watch at certain points when, you don't want to necessarily endorse adultery or anything like that, which I would never do. So that's sort of where they lose me with relatability. But this type of stuff does happen. These type of people do exist. And I think particularly in a industry as vapid and, image obsessed like Hollywood, which interestingly, another parallel could be Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is, a movie sort of about the inner workings of the industry in that way. It shows just how kind of disconnected everyone is and how difficult it probably is to communicate when your career is to pretend to be somebody else. It's got to be a little bit weird. So,
yeah, this is just movie, just like the location. They really only have each other. They're both deeply unhappy in their relationships. It's funny, like you say that, like obviously not going to condone adultery or any of that, but you do feel like an ounce of sympathy for them at least because they're so deeply unhappy.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, there's you feel for them in their situation. I think it's the actions that they take as a result of it is kind of what frustrates me. Because I don't know, like if you're unhappy, like you could just divorce your wife. Like, that's an idea.
True.
So that's where I lose the sympathy, but I do think that is kind of a rampant issue in Hollywood a little bit. I mean, we've seen even darker issues with Hollywood coming out over the last 5 years or so with everything that's going on with all these powerful execs. And those guys are probably going home to what people would assume is a happy family life. And, there's just stuff going on underneath the surface. And it's a lot easier to just divorce your wife, or it sounds a lot easier to just divorce your wife than, it probably actually is. And to, dump your boyfriend, Giovanni Ribisi in this case. I don't know how he pulled Scarlett Johansson, but that's another conversation. But yeah,
that little spoiler alert, that's my Throwing Tomatoes. That was terrible.
And it's a realistic rumination on that. And it's like, it's not only a Hollywood problem, it's kind of an American problem. We like to bottle our problems up and not talk about them. And that's sort of the crux of the movie. Like I mentioned, is the issues with communication and everything, and sort of how it all comes out and all unwinds in this sort of jet lagged dream-like state. Really, really interesting aesthetic in that respect, where these quick cuts are all of a sudden you wake up and then all of a sudden you're at the bar again, then you wake up. It's kind of, I'm trying to think of what it reminded me of. It was something specific, but just maybe it was like Fight Club or something, just like the realistic way.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Yeah, just a realistic way that you depict like this jet lag sort of dream-like state that's not assisted at all by alcohol and all that other stuff that they're doing. So.
Yeah, I think the crux of this movie, though, is, and that what really draws you in is the focus in on the human connection, because they have nothing else. Like Bill Murray, he gets his room service, he goes to his commercial shoot, he feels nothing. The only time he can actually find a real connection is when he goes to the bar at night and talk to other people. And I think that's kind of what
little Palm Springs vibes.
Little Palm Springs, yeah, absolutely, definitely. See some inspiration drawn there. But yeah, I mean, it definitely tugs on. This is what any good movie does: just tugs on your emotions, tugs on your primal, urges. And yeah, I was a big fan. I didn't really, like you said, I didn't really know what to expect going in. I heard good things, but I don't know if I necessarily expected this.
Yeah, it was really, really good, and just like I mentioned, I feel kind of douchey saying it, but a nice mood piece of a movie.
Mood. It's very moody.
Very mood piece. Oh, yeah. My third year of film class, I was taught what a mood piece was.
It was past the Grey Poupon.
The bars in the globe.
Are you ready to move on to our categories for this movie?
Yes, sir.
All right. Throwing Tomatoes, I just talked about. It would be Charlotte's husband, John, just kind of pissed off in how he landed Scarlett Johansson, the whole situation there with... Shouts out Baltimore's own Anna Faris.
She's from here?
She was born and grew up in Baltimore, yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. And she's also just the worst person in this movie. Just a vapid, like, typical LA chick from what I gather. So, yeah, that would be my Throwing Tomatoes.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I kind of didn't love the idea that they're both in failing relationships and they find someone in one another at that juncture. I think it's, it's creative and it's risky and it's a realistic sort of unconventional take on something like that. It just would have made the characters more likable if like they were both maybe divorced or something like that. I would have been a little more sympathetic to their cause. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it drags a bit in certain points after they meet and they've had that first kind of spark. It maybe drags in between that and sort of the climax of the movie. But if it's the climax, I mean, it's just sort of rolls along. But yeah, it maybe could have been a little shorter, but other than that, no complaints.
Okay.
Really.
Okay, that's fair. My that's a Bravo, which is probably what everybody talks about with this movie, is the ending with the improv whisper that Bill Murray gives to Charlotte. We don't obviously hear the audio on that, and I think that's the perfect way to end this movie. It leaves you wanting more, but it's also a perfect way to end it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was pretty good. And just to your point there, I think the casting was really, really kind of what brings it all together in that sense. I think Charlotte as Scarlett was probably perfectly cast, and Bill, obviously, this is pretty autobiographical. So yeah, I think that sort of is a culmination of the great casting, and that you would totally buy that. And you're really not even that you're not even that pissed off by it. Like we talk about ambiguous endings and stuff like that, but yeah, on that I actually have a quick clip to play if you don't mind.
Sure.
I want to see Lost in Translation with Cleveland and Quagmire. I want to see Lost in Translation with Cleveland and Quagmire.
It's not.
I want to see Lost in Trans.
It's not the full clip, but the they're like
Same clip, bro.
They walk. Yeah, thanks. They walk out of the theater. Quagmire is like, "What do you think he whispered to her?" And Cleveland goes, "I bet it was just right."
I'll have to look that one up.
Yeah, that's
a good one. Always rely on Family Guy for a solid reference.
Yeah, they have almost too many.
It's a little overkill. All right, so keeping score, the only scene I had seen before this movie was the karaoke scene at that high rise, and that would be my keeping score. I love the karaoke scenes there with the Elvis Costello song, the Pretender song. That's where I really felt the most connected to the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I can't really say I'm too familiar with any of the individual songs, but just researching for trivia, it sounds like they put so much effort into this thing and curating the soundtrack, and it gives the movie a specific feeling, which works extremely well. It's sort of, again, with that mood piece thing, it sort of helps to evoke that. It helps to evoke that sort of dreamlike state that you're in. I think it's particularly with some of the jazz and the indie rock picks. It's sort of maybe find it on some like stupid like lo-fi beats to study to playlist on Spotify. But it works extremely well for this. I think.
I'm not gonna say I haven't done that, but
no, not at all. But apparently, I mean, I think it works especially well for a movie like this, where they're kind of trying to just keep you engaged, but also make you feel like you're sort of floating through it. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, definitely lends itself to the theory that it's like a dreamlike state. So, would agree with you there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on to our quote and quotables. This was a very short screenplay. You might have it in trivia. You may not. It was only 75 pages.
Mm-hmm.
Typical screenplay is going to be 90 to 120 pages. So there was a lot of room for improvisation and obviously some other things that would take up some time. But there were some great quotes in this one. First one I have here. Bill Murray, he's talking this to Charlotte and definitely bestows a lot of wisdom on her. He says, the more you know who you are and what you want, the less things upset you.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of profound.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Bob talking to Charlotte again. This is when he like picks her up at the bar. Thought this was brilliant. Definitely showed his agent experience. He says, can you keep a secret? I'm trying to organize a prison break. I'm looking for an accomplice. We have to first get out of this bar, then the hotel, then the city, and then the country. Are you in or are you out? And she says, I'm in. I'll go pack my stuff. He says, I hope that you've had enough to drink. It's going to take courage. Love that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Kind of creepy that she's 17, but
well, she's supposed to be 21 in the movie. It's, what are you going to do?
What are you going to do? This was a really funny line from Charlotte.
Very
she
creepy,
said,
though. Still very creepy, though. 100% creepy.
It is very creepy. 2003, I guess you could get away with it. Doesn't make it right.
Even then, that feels a little post that being okay, but it's whatever.
Fair enough.
They're actors, they're working.
Yeah. It's a movie. Come on. Charlotte, one of her funny lines, she says, you're probably just having a midlife crisis. Did you buy a Porsche yet? I thought that was funny.
And you get this sense that he's bought like 3 Porsches and they've just none of them have done anything for him.
And then a few more lines here from Bob Harris. Obviously, for relaxing times, make it a Suntory time. That whole scene was just so well done.
Yeah, the where and then she just orders the martini. It's like, yeah, nice joke, but
and then another Bob Harris line, short and sweet. How very Japanese of you. And there were many lines in this movie, definitely poking a lot of fun at the Japanese culture and the language.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if that would be a 2020 thing, but again, 2003.
No, it got criticized at the time too.
At the time, okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like some people, I think some of the defense against the criticism was that it's not Sofia Coppola saying this; it's the characters that are saying this, which is pretty much how I defend like any gangster movie or whatever it is that some people think is lowbrow. It's like, well, no, it's just actually a movie about like shitheads, and like that's to an extent kind of what this movie is as well. So.
It's hard to separate the two, but whatever the nature of the character is, you got to write for that.
Yep.
So, and then last one I had, I don't have the line written now, but it's the whole Roger Moore, Lodger Moore back and forth. Thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a little hard to follow, but pretty good.
And that was actually improvised by Bill Murray. So
yeah,
props to him on that.
Yeah, like you mentioned the screenplay, I think a lot of it was like retro scripted, which is what they do with where they write the scene out and they just kind of let the actors sort of play it out however naturally they would. So I think it's really well done.
Yep, and that'll wrap up my quote and quotables. Any quotes you wanted to pass along, or are we ready to move on to trivia?
I didn't think this was especially quotable outside of the stuff you had, so I just got trivia here if that works.
Cool.
Bill Murray's favorite movie of his own.
Really?
Yeah, that kind of shocked me.
I think that says a lot.
I think it probably means to him. I think he really poured himself into this one.
Well, I mean, I don't want to spoil some more trivia, but Sofia Coppola wouldn't have made this movie without him. So seems like he was the only guy for this role.
Yeah, that was my next bit, is that she wrote the lead role specifically for him and later said that if he turned it down, she wouldn't have done the movie, which is kind of insane to think about.
Oh, same thing goes for Inglourious Basterds, right? Chris Waltz.
Waltz, yep. And it's also insane if you consider the fact that Sofia Coppola wasn't sure if Bill Murray was actually going to show up for the film. Murray works without a management, and according to Coppola, he had only given her a verbal confirmation. While production was being set up in Tokyo with no sign of him, she started to get nervous, but was assured by Wes Anderson, who had directed Murray in Rushmore and the Royal Tenenbaums, that Murray was a man of his word. It was indeed when Murray landed in Tokyo 1 week before filming that his participation was ensured.
So I feel like that's the most Bill Murray thing like to come out of this. I heard Jesse Eisenberg talking on an interview, and he's he was talking about how Zombieland, like they didn't know if he was going to show up or not. So I think that's definitely a common theme for Bill Murray, and I think he just kind of puts it out there so he gets less roles,
I don't know if I wrote this down. I think I did, but apparently he just has, or at least at the time, he just had a voicemail box that he like periodically checked.
I think it was a 1-800 number, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I wrote it down. We'll get to that.
Like anybody could call it. Like, get Bill Murray for your short movie.
Yeah. So ScarJo was 17 years old at the time of filming and 18 when the film was released. So okay by the time of release.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's all that matters, right?
Very legal, very cool.
Okay. Very cool.
Very legal, very cool. You mentioned the script. Many dialogue scenes were heavily improvised, including Bill Murray's lines in the photo shoot and his conversation with Scarlett Johansson about his shiatsu massage.
Yeah, love the definitely didn't seem like he was acting whatsoever in those commercial shoots, and definitely probably the funniest part of the movie for me.
Yeah. The entire budget of the film was $4 million. It grossed $44 million in North America and $119.7 million worldwide. So a nice little coup there for young Sofia Coppola just getting into the directing game.
It like somewhat fascinates me how like, now I know this was only her second movie, her second feature film, but it kind of fascinates me how like it's not more of a thing in Hollywood that it's like you're gonna have guaranteed backing behind you. Like if you have a name like Coppola, or even like Martin Scorsese, and this might be a different situation going to Netflix for The Irishman, but like it kind of fascinates me how like track record almost doesn't matter to a point.
I think,
or family ties, like it does, but like she should have gotten more funding. in my
all
opinion.
all the execs care about is money, though.
Right.
Like, that's what it comes down to. They don't care about literally anything. And you're probably right. It might make for more integrity, but like, I don't like, what more could they have done with this movie budgetary wise? I think it's fine.
And sometimes like simplicity is the best. This was shot like a documentary almost.
Yeah, I think it
And-
speaks to and I think it speaks to this, and the next piece of trivia speaks to the point that like movies can have a lot more integrity and like character without like all this big budget shit going on.
I agree. I mean, what are you going to do with the budget? There's nothing more you can do.
And
You
speaking of that, Francis Ford Coppola, her father, obviously urged her to shoot the movie in high definition video because, quote, it's the future. But she chose film because film feels more romantic. And now, 17 years later, all the cool kids with all the budget are shooting on film and avoiding going to digital video. So it's an interesting little transition we've had.
I mean, I would expect the opposite takes for those two, but okay.
Yeah, well, listen, you think that, but then you have George Lucas shooting the prequels in like green screens
Right.
all over the freaking place and just trying to maybe not necessarily cut costs, but make things a little bit easier. I can see why that's appealing in 2003.
Another movie that we should definitely do at some point, The Florida Project, which is very reminiscent of this movie in terms of how it's shot, like the documentary type style.
Mhm.
That director, Sean Baker, said, he's inspired by Chris Nolan, that he wants to shoot only in film, and he hopes that's the way of the future. So it's not just the, it's not an older school type mindset. So it lives one.
Nice. Sofia Coppola wrote a lot of the film based on her life. The character of John, who is the Giovanni Ribisi guy who somehow makes away with ScarJo, was loosely based on her husband, Spike Jonze. Rumor has it, go ahead.
Who directed Being John Malkovich.
Yep, and her. Rumor has it that the Anna Faris character Kelly was supposedly Cameron Diaz, with whom Spike Jonze worked with on Being John Malkovich. Though Coppola denied the connection in an Entertainment Weekly interview.
That that would just seem like the strangest pairing, like Spike Jonze and Cameron Diaz. I can't.
Yeah,
Imagine
well, maybe if she looks like she did in Being John Malkovich, I could see it.
Okay, maybe.
Not to knock her appearance in that, but she's just a little more homely than she normally is.
What are you trying to say, Jake?
We don't have to go down that road.
Okay.
For her role in this film, Sofia Coppola became the first woman to be Oscar nominated for writing, directing, and producing a film. She won the Best Original Screenplay.
Deserved it. This was a creative screenplay. Definitely one of a kind, especially for this early. I've talked about before. Like, I don't really get into a lot of movies with female directors. It's not intentional or anything. It's just kind of the way things go. But Sofia Coppola's, what's that?
There's not enough, honestly.
There's not enough. And so Sofia Coppola is definitely on my radar. And I want to see more. I think that's definitely changing a lot. Don't want to bring up this example because it's probably a bad one, but Project Power was female directed. So you're seeing a lot of the new wave movies shifting a little bit, shifting gears.
Sure. In 1999, here it is. Bill Murray replaced his talent agency with an automated voicemail box that can be reached with an 800 number that he gives out sparingly. He only calls back when he's interested in the proposed project. Sofia Coppola obtained the number through her friend and frequent Murray collaborator, Wes Anderson, and she reportedly left hundreds of messages on Murray's mailbox before he finally called her back to discuss her offer to cast him as the star.
All right, that's semi-psychotic.
A little bit, yeah.
Psychotic or love for the craft? I don't know.
I mean, this is probably just as good of a movie with Jason Alexander, though, for being honest. Drake Santorini!
I'm just,
Oh, LeBron!
I kind of get the Michael Richards vibe. Not gonna lie, Kramer.
Giddy up.
But it wouldn't work because he's probably going to be fluent in Japanese.
Yeah, it's going to give me some weird, like, sort of quirk that he has that just makes it totally fine, and he's just like playing golf every scene trying to shoot.
That would be the more interesting movie, Michael Richards.
Well, maybe that would have helped him avoid his incident at the
in 2003. Though that might have been right around the time of the incident.
I think that might have been a few years before, so this could have been a career saver for Michael Richards. Poor guy.
He gives like that Oscar speech there, and it's like, "I was a scoundrel, but I'm back, baby."
America loves a comeback story.
Yeah,
well, some of America. Sofia Coppola based the characters of Charlotte and her husband. Okay, I already had that. As of 2020, features Bill Murray's only Oscar-nominated performance.
That's pretty interesting. I mean, obviously, it doesn't shock me because the Oscars hates comedies, so they're not going to nominate an actor in any comedy, any Caddyshack or Groundhog Day or any of that. But good for him. You know, I saw an Instagram post today with the list of actors that have not won Best Picture, or I'm sorry, Best Actor. So I was shocked to see that Tom Cruise is not on that list. Did not realize that, but there you go.
Just you know.
I mean, come on. That's who doesn't love that little quirk, that little Scientology quirk, you know?
Yep, that whole thing.
Edit that out.
Help me.
Help you. Show me the money.
Show me the money. I get that's all I got for trivia.
Are you a War of the Worlds type guy? Are you a fan of that movie?
Yes, actually, I probably should have included that in 2005. Honorable mention. Saw that one in theaters with my dad.
Okay.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. Shout out Justin Chatwin in that movie, who is in Shameless, one of my favorite TV shows.
Cool. Haven't seen Shameless. Well, I've seen bits and pieces of it. But.
Yeah. Just William H. Macy being a terrible father.
Well, you know I love that.
If I know anything about Jake Luke, it's William H. Macy.
Yeah, but Shep Proudfoot, he's going to help put the deal together over here, okay? Bill, it's
Yeah.
this is my here, see?
Oh, sure.
Finder's fee. What are we talking about here? Word justice, please. Oh, wait, it's Jerry. Wait, it's Jerry. You got to come down here.
I implore you, if you are listening to this podcast, audio only, to watch the YouTube version just to see Jake's face ticks when he gets into his William H. Macy.
Yeah, well, you know, Shep Proudfoot. Yeah, he's going to be involved in the deal.
Yeah,
here.
You do nail the accent there. I'll give you that credit.
Just incredibly idiosyncratic, you know. Brainerd.
Season 5, Fargo, Jake Luke. Who says no?
Listen, I would not turn that down. That's all.
I don't think I was. You know what? Not gonna lie, they were putting out posts to be extras in Game of Thrones. I'm like, if I fly to England, I could be in half a second of Game of Thrones.
They filmed that in England? I thought that was Australia.
They filmed it in many places.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spain, Morocco.
Oh, yeah. I guess my
Scotland.
friend. My friend went to that one city in Croatia. That's King's
Yeah,
Landing.
Croatia. Yeah.
Okay.
Sick.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Okay, pretty good. And so I believe it is our time for our next movie review, and it is Jake's turn this week.
This is going to be a fun one. I've kind of done it on the fly here, so it may have to be a rental.
Okay, that's fine.
Let me look it up real quick to see, but it's
Alrighty.
one that we've maybe been circling a little bit here. I'm not totally sure if it's been on your radar as far as something that we're going to watch, but we were going to get to it at some point. And yeah, it's time to do Office Space. So if you could just go ahead and rent it or find it somewhere on a streaming service, we are going to be talking about it next coming week. Okay.
What exactly do you do here?
I already told you, people. I deal with the goddamn customers, so the engineers don't have to. I'm good at dealing with people. Damn it! What the hell is wrong with you people?
So it is streaming on Hulu. Look at that.
Yep, I just saw that. So if you could just go ahead and get a premium subscription to Hulu, that would be great. Okay?
Yeah, you're gonna want to avoid those commercials, so you want to get that Hulu Premium if you could. Appreciate it.
Peter, what's happening? Gonna need you to go ahead and hop on Hulu this weekend. We're gonna need you to go ahead and come in on Sunday too. Just how stuff that we're doing around here, and we're sort of trying to play catch up.
Yeah,
We're not going to be able to get through this review.
This is going to be a 3-hour podcast.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. I have not seen this movie in about 15 years or so.
Really?
Yeah.
It's even better returning to it as an adult and sort of understanding all the intricacies and the bullshit that they're dealing with. I figured we've done some, a lot of different types of movies on here. Done some comedies recently. I figured this is kind of a comedy, has some, I wouldn't say dramatic elements, but more relatable life elements to it that is a good watch for somebody in their mid-20s like us, and pretty much anyone else who enjoys funny movies, good performances, and, Ron Livingston is the main character, very funny. Obviously,
Big Gary Cole guy.
Gary Cole is tremendous, and this is probably his, among a career of, great character actor roles, this is probably his most iconic one as Bill Lumbergh. So it's going to be a fun one.
Also, a big Mike Judge guy, was a huge Silicon Valley fan. So
yeah, he's done that. He did Beavis and Butthead and King of Hill and all this different stuff. So Mike Judge absolutely rules, and he actually has a cameo in this movie, which we'll touch on.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Looking forward to it. Definitely was not on my radar, but I have several movies here that I'm waiting to get on streaming. Little spoiler alert for next week. It's coming to Netflix, so it's not out yet, but we will be doing another movie 2 weeks from now. But I'm definitely looking forward to Office Space.
I'm just going to need you to go ahead and get me those streaming reports ASAP.
Yeah, you're going to want to get that HBO Max and the see, I'm doing a little crossover here for you, a little Fargo Office Space crossover.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A little HBO Max and little Hulu, some Amazon.
The Fargo accent thing is so funny because I actually work with a decent amount of people in the Midwest, and particularly we have a guy in Minnesota who pretends like or acts like he does not talk like that, but he 100% does.
He's like, I do not talk like that. Oh crap!
Yeah, your Minnesota accent needs a little bit of work over there, Jake. What are you doing?
Love it. Looking forward to it, man. This is going to be a good week. We are going to do Fargo finally, season 4. I guess the first 3 episodes will be out by the next time we do a podcast. So
first 4 actually, because they did a 2-episode premiere. So you got 4 hours of fun here. Got
my work cut out for me a little bit.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's been a fun watch for the first 3 weeks so far. So I'm excited for you to hop in here with me.
Yeah. So far, season 4, liking it better or worse than season 3? What are you thinking?
I think probably, I wouldn't say, so it's interesting. It's getting some heat because the show is very much just doing its own bit at this point. And the names are crazy. It's a little over the top in some spots, and it's maybe lacks the subtlety of seasons 1 and 2. But as far as an enjoyable watch, I'm very much enjoying it through 3 hours more than I was season 3 through 3 hours. And some of the casting choices are incredible. Like Chris Rock is doing an awesome job. Timothy Olyphant made his debut on Sunday as Dick Deffy Wickware, who's this Mormon sheriff who is just an absolute dickhead, and he's doing a great job. So it's been fun. Okay,
yeah, that's an interesting name there. Definitely a creative writing team, I guess.
People call me Deffy because I only hear what I like to hear.
Deffy.
Yeah, it's good.
Big Timothy Olyphant guy. Definitely want to shout him out.
This was maybe the most slam dunk of all time to cast him in some role in the series, and they just sort of, this isn't like a Chris Rock like you wouldn't expect it. Like you'd very much expect him to get cast as like a Mormon sheriff from Utah who's kind of down his nose at everyone, but he's taking it in stride and he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I first saw him in The Office as Danny Cordray, and then I'm like, oh, he's in Justified. Oh, he's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He's actually a great actor.
I really need to watch through Justified all the way. I've seen a couple episodes, and I've actually, it's based on a book series by Elmore Leonard, who's one of my favorite authors. It's based on Raylan, I think is the book series name, who's the character's name, obviously. So yeah, want to read through the Raylan books and also watch that show because pretty good vibes from it.
Did also want to give another piece of news here because we are a pop culture podcast. Rest in peace to Eddie Van Halen.
No doubt. Yeah, that came out a little bit before we started recording. Absolute legend of the game. Completely changed the way a lot of people probably approach the guitar instrument. And I wish I was more musical than I was to understand some of what made him so amazing. But all I know is his music is so much fun to listen to.
Yeah, I mean, one of the guys who definitely got me into playing guitar. And he actually did the solo on Michael Jackson's Beat It, fun fact.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Yeah. He was the man. He was the man.
Also was responsible for the brainwashing of Marty McFly's dad.
That's a very good point.
Greetings, First Leg. My name is Darth Vader.
That's such a good point there. I think there's no better way to wrap up the podcast than on that note. Anything else here before we wrap it up there, Jake?
No, bud, this was a really fun one. Great choice by you on the movie, and looking forward to next week.
Office Space, streaming on Hulu. Be sure to watch it before next week.
Yeah, we're going to need you to go ahead and spend some time, put about an hour and a half of your time aside to go ahead and check that out, because you're going to want to need to see it. Okay.
Yeah, we're going to need you to like and subscribe our YouTube channel there if you don't mind.
I am going to have to ask you to go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Jake Luke. Okay, that's LOUQUE, and go ahead and give Matt a follow at Ampine_. That's PYNE. Okay.
Yeah, you're going to want to follow the Twitter account of the pod there at Bingo Pod.
I'm telling you, you're celebrating our entire catalog here.
Why not, dude?
Remind me, it doesn't get a lot better when he sings them when a man loves a woman. We're not going to get through this show.
We will. It might be a two-parter. We're going to have to see how that goes, but prepare yourselves.
Oh my God. It's going to be fun.
Okay. Yeah. So definitely appreciate everyone listening. If you wanted to skip through that mumbo jumbo there, we are on YouTube, we are on iTunes, we are on Spotify. Would appreciate a review and a 5-star.
Absolutely. Give us that 5-star review, tweet it at us, and we might just give you a reward. Who knows?
We'll see.
We'll see about it.
About it.
All right, everyone. Peace out.
Booyah.